Parents of Reddit, what did you find in your kid's room that you put back and never discussed with them? We had to move our kid out of a bad living situation. She wasn't in any condition to help. So wife and I go in and just start grabbing her stuff. We come across her adult baby fetish gear. Like 2 duffel bags of it. Giant onesies. Binkies. Diapers etc. Wife looked at me. I looked at her. We shut each bag and have never spoken of it again. My father-in-law helped us move once. The only trunk he decided to have a look-see in was our sex trunk. FFS. A whole trunk. I must be living too vanilla. My wife has a couple of vibrators, but those are for personal use. We've tried the sex toy thing a couple of times, but it never stuck. I knew we were vanilla, but if sex trunks are the norm, I suppose we're not even that. Maybe more like a water-flavored slushie. I was laying peel and stick tiles in our bathroom, and found a couple of mild nudie mags hidden under the big package of TP. At about that time, youngest son came home and was a bit panicked, but never said anything at the time. I made sure to place the magazines back when I was done tiling. I showed them to my wife, and joked that I should have substituted granny gangbangs or similar. I still regret not doing it. When I was a kid, I stockpiled dozens of those mags under my basement couch over the course of a few years. I eventually forgot about them, until one day when my dad asked me to help him move the furniture in the basement. That was a bit awkward. An entire nightstand drawer full of used feminine hygiene products. I wanted to ask why, but I felt like any conceivable answer would just beckon more questions. Was this in your son's room or your daughter's? I have questions. I did something similar once. My family, except for my mother, made fun of me every time I had my period. It was absolute hell every month. They basically dismissed any opinions or emotions I expressed, so I tried to hide it from them as much as possible. When my mother went away on a trip for work, they would have known it was me throwing them in the trash, so I kept them in a plastic bag in my room instead. Anyways, your kid could feel self-conscious about throwing their feminine hygiene products out in the trash, or may just have not known how they were supposed to deal with it. Assuming that the products were used by your kid and that they aren't just keeping someone else's products. When I was 9ish, my mom got me a light-up handheld back massager. I was obsessed with it. It looked like something space age and did wonders on my neck and back. My older teenage sister stole it from my room one day and I noticed it on her nightstand. She wouldn't give it back and I told my mom she stole it, but mom just said just let her have it. 20 years later and I finally understand. One of my younger brothers stole a tiny lotion of mine from Bath & Body Works. I understood immediately why it was under his bed. He still denies it to this day. Well, did your mom get you a new one? Understandable then, but I would have been mad regardless of the use if someone stole one of my possessions. Edit. Irregardless, regardless edit 2. Well, that went from dildo talk to the state of the English language real quick. It's actually disregardless. A pair of SpongeBob boxer shorts with the cheeks cut out, to make them into a thong. They were just trying to make bikini bottoms. If she goes to the beach with them, she'll have sandy cheeks. I am a 24-year-old who grew up watching that damn show, and I just now got her name. Thank you. When my late husband was 21, and we'd been dating for a year, he had an MRI for something concerning, and then went back to work, leaving his worried about his MRI mom from up north who was just there for his medical stuff, in his apartment alone with nothing to do. So she cleaned a lot. When he came home, his normally messy room was spotless. His bed was freshly made with the Bible he'd gotten at his church confirmation atop the pillow. And on top of that, a condom wrapper that must have made its way under the bed in our haste. In his closet, his once hidden Playboy cheerleaders VHS tape was now quite prominently displayed on a shelf. She never said a word to him about anything. She shot dagger eyes at me next time she saw me though. Not the parent, but my sister found a stack of really hateful, bitter, "Why don't you love me?" letters her daughter had written to her absent father when she was 7 or 8. They were devastating. My sister never mentioned the letters, but she did sit her down and talk to her about stuff with her dad, and I think that helped. This post had just been a sea of dildos and then this. Damn. To be fair, the dad sounds like a dildo. At least dildo will be there for you, unlike the dad. Not a parent, but my dad moved to a new apartment after I shipped to boot camp. When I got back home on boot leave, he was showing me around his new apartment and he just casually mentioned, "Your pocket pussy is in that drawer by the way." Haha. A true battle buddy saves your stuff. It's okay. You made a new one with a MRE heater. Feels just like the real thing. I was around 14 and ordered a book online about sex back when they just sent you anything if you promised you were over 18 and would pay for it later. 1996 if I recall correctly. This was no regular book. It was nearly 500 pages. A lethal-bound holy grail of sex. My father or mother found it one day under my bed and I thought I would be in so much trouble, but they never said anything. A few weeks later, I go looking for it and under their bed, I find my book, a printed out copy of the Anarchist Cookbook, and a VHS of heavy metal. I took it all and nothing has even been said about it to this day. One of them found the VHS, and I am pretty sure it was my mom, thinking it was mine. Due to the looks of disappointment shortly thereafter I was getting. Lethal-bound holy grail of sex, I love it. Her name is Madonna, have some respect. Not a parent, but found a note in my brother's room talking about killing my cat. Note: he never has. But did you have a cat? Not anymore. I'm not the parent, but I know someone that went into their son's 17 room and stumbled across a ball gag, handcuffs, spiked collar, W leash, and riding crop. He did have a GF at the time. The parent never mentioned it to either of them. When I was 10, my brother was 12. We were staying the weekend at our grandpa's house way out in the country. I found a cock ring in the bathroom and being 10 I obviously had no clue what it was, so I showed it to my brother. He told me what it was and we ran outside in the middle of the night and chucked it into the woods because we panicked. Thankfully grandpa never asked about his missing cock ring. I love kid logic. Sex stuff. Chuck it into the woods. How else would all the porn mags have ended up there? Condoms. Never ever take the condoms. My mom bought all the condoms for my brothers, sisters, and I no questions asked. My friend's dad found her contraceptive pill and threw it away. She was pregnant within 6 months. Oh no, I can't find my birth control pills. I guess I won't ever have sex again, said no teenager in the history of the universe. I'm the kid, but once my girlfriend accidentally left her undies under my bed. Every so often when I'm away for an amount of time, my mum will clean up my room and do some washing. When I got back one time, I found her undies washed with mine and left for me to put away in my room. She's never mentioned it to me. Your mom's a bro. I like that she washed them. I mean, it is the polite thing to do, lol. They're never a wrong bad time to be polite. My grandma found a dildo I didn't like, brought it upstairs to show my mom and laugh, and then suggested she would gift it to me in front of my whole family on Christmas morning. My grandma is savage AF and I'm lucky to have a sliver of her humor. I don't know if that's funny or scary. Sounds like grandma. My son is a very talented artist. While cleaning his room, we found a drawing that he'd done as sort of a 3-part comic strip. First panel, there was a pretty girl wearing bib overalls, the kind with the straps over the shoulder. Second panel, one of the strap buttons popped loose and the strap was flying back over her shoulder as the overalls started to fold down. Third panel, the girl, breast exposed, had a perfect look of surprised embarrassment on her face. The reason we didn't say anything was because he was a pretty shy 11-year-old and we didn't want him to stop drawing by embarrassing him. I regret not taking a picture of it, though, because it was really impressive artwork for a kid. Was looking for my vibrator that mysteriously disappeared from my drawer. Looked in the teenager's room. Not there. Went to my 5-year-old's room and there it was sitting on top of his dresser, in all its glory. I was too scared to ask anyone how my lightsaber got there, so just took it back and hid it in my room. TBH, if you told him it was a lightsaber, he just probably wanted to play with it as if it were a toy. It is a toy. You got a friend in me. I think the correct term is I've got a friend in me in this case. In high school, my mom decided to clean my room. As a nice gesture, she found my vibrator under my pillow. I got a text, "Guess you're too old for me to surprise with cleaning your room." Okay, under the pillow seems to be a pretty common hiding spot based on this thread. It also clearly doesn't work. So to anyone currently doing this, find a different spot. Get a small lockbox. or with your hobby stuff. So finding it would involve them taking an interest in what you do. A whole lot of pornographic art and draft lyrics. None of my business. It's called hentai, and it's art. So technically you're a draft dodger. A stash of over 700 mustard packets. I was the findee. I figured it out because the cover wasn't placed back correctly. Yes, mustard packets. Yes, 700 plus. Yes, the collection did grow after this. Edit. I counted them because I needed 763. 762 plus reference packet to make a scale model of the mustard packets out of mustard packets. I built 3 of these said models in my senior year of high school. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures because while my friends and I were transporting them to my high school they got destroyed. Lousy tape. 700 now, that's just impressive. I personally like to keep a stash of Taco Bell mild sauce packets but nowhere near that much mayo. 1 single can of a fruity alcohol drink. I left it. Should have left a note if there isn't 11 more, it isn't worth it. There used to be 11 more. Not a parent, but I'm pretty sure my dad found my first bong and never mentioned it. One day it was just missing and I was so scared that I left it in an obvious spot after smoking and I'd get in trouble. It's been like 10 years since that and I'm still to this day curious what happened. LOL. Clearly dad took it and is still using it to smoke with his buddies. Haha, when I was about 20 my mom found a bowl left in a clean sock in our laundry room. Asked why it was there. I was as confused as her as it wasn't my bowl. Haha. I grabbed it to look at it, said not sure and just walked away. Turns out it was my friends who thought he lost it a couple years ago. Note, just forgot it in my laundry room after we were smoking one time. I'm the child in this story. I was about 10 or 11 and feeling really guilty for being a horrible person. Silly kid stuff. I don't remember exactly what. Maybe it was as simple as not saying I love you enough. I felt I had to atone somehow, so I started writing I love you dad, love you mum, love you sister 1, love you sister 2, and did it over and over, almost like the lines you'd get as punishment in school. I did a full page and then completely forgot about them. My room was very messy and my parents didn't enforce me to clean it. Silly of them. In my defense, I most likely have undiagnosed ADHD, but that's besides the point. What is the point is that it may have been months later or even years later, but I found that piece of paper again and I was cringing for having written it. But at the bottom in my dad's handwriting was one final line: we love you too. You made me tear up a little amid the sea of dildos and drugs. Not a parent, but I found a pocket pussy in my nephew's bedroom. Did you try it out? A friend of mine had a pocket pussy, and one day it came up missing. He ended up finding it in his stepson's room. He just walked into the living room where the stepson was and looked him dead in the eye and said, "You know how many times I nutted in that thing?" and watched the son's face turn to one of horror. I know a guy, friend of a friend, whose house was raided by the police. They really turned the place inside out. The officer searching through the guy's nightstand pulls out a fleshlight and asks, "What's this?" and the guy answers, "So that's a marital aid." Cop of course shudders and drops it. You'd think they'd be smart enough to not handle anything found in a drawer next to a bed. One day I decided to tackle the disaster that was my 9-year-old son's bedroom. It was impressive how much he had on his floor, and as a one-time 9-year-old boy myself, I had to give him props. Then I found, tucked away in his bookshelf, a Ziploc bag filled with plastic sporks. An entire school year's worth from the cafeteria. There were hundreds of them, all packed into this gallon-sized bag. I stared at them for a long time, put them back where I found them, and decided he should clean his own room more often. I must confess, I talked to him a couple weeks later, after finding one in his coat pocket. I told him it probably wasn't sanitary to have laying around. I let my gaze linger on him for an extra second and his expression changed. "Well, I guess I need a new hobby," he said. I bought him a rock collection starter kit the next day. His hobby was collecting sporks. That's what he said. I still have no idea why. I wasn't snooping. I was helping him organize all his collections of stuff when he was in high school. I came across an old metal cookie tin filled with paper scraps. He'd apparently torn off every good job and nice work comment he's ever gotten from his teachers, as well as all of the happy birthday and love yous from all his cards. I realized how important those tangible affirmations are to him. so I've made it a point over the last 15 plus years to write things down in addition to telling him. He's got pretty severe anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and I'd like to think that if I'm not with him, one of those little pieces of paper might help him get through whatever he's dealing with. My mom used to send me little I love you messages written on paper scraps in my lunchbox to school. I kept every single one. When she died in middle school, I dug them up and sobbed over them. Someone cutting onions in here. WTF. In all seriousness, I hope you're okay. I can't even imagine how painful that must be to go through at that age. I'm about to be 17, and seeing this now has me worried what they've found over the years. Think of it this way. If they didn't find it, they don't know. If they did, they clearly decided, rightly or wrongly. I have no idea what you were hiding. It wasn't a big deal or you were mature enough for it. Third option, that doesn't help whatsoever. The parents are too terrified to have an incredibly awkward conversation. Still better than your mom walking in on you masturbating. I kept my stash of goods in the insulation behind the attic door. My sister told me my mom found it, so I checked it and the condoms were spread across the ground inside and the insulation peeled back. I freaked out. BC, I also had a quarter lb of weed in the insulation, but she was apparently so upset over the condoms she pulled the insulation down and left. Lucky break. I suppose that was a long time ago. Don't sell drugs, kids, lol. LPT. Keep your contraband separate. Once they find one thing, they'll stop looking. Here, kids. Here is an important message from your Uncle Bill. Don't buy drugs. Become a pop star, and they give you them for free. Not a parent, and not a bedroom, but my parents and I keep finding my brother's pocket cookie on the edge of the tub because the moron keeps forgetting to bring it back to his room. Every time I see it, I turn around and walk out. Someone else can deal with that. However, to my horror, my parents have both on separate occasions picked it up with their bare hands to bring it back to his room, and I saw my mom squishing it with disgust in her eyes one time. I'm pretty sure no one has had the heart to talk to my brother about it though. Your brother either has a creepy fetish or thinks he has a teleporting pocket. Not the parent. My aunt was cleaning her son's room and found his stash of gay porn. This was before he came out. I honestly felt bad for him because she was awful about it. So he lied and said it was a friend's and that she had just left it there. She seemed to accept that answer. Never was brought up again. I will say that he's fully out and engaged to a man. I think she reacted the way she did because she was scared for him. Grew up in an old-fashioned Portuguese Catholic home. So I think she was afraid of my grandparents' reactions, who honestly just seemed happy that whoever he brought home would eat a ton of the food they prepared. Reverse order. I was in my mom's room looking for something. She had quite a bit of clutter piled on top of her dresser, so I start examining the contents to see if it's there. After a few seconds I realize there's a beaded butt plug just sitting right out in the open. I immediately left her room and decided to just ask her if she'd seen what I was looking for. My aunt found a razor on my male cousin's table, but nothing on his visible body. Seems like he shaved. Don't have to be smart to know where he uses that razor instead. He said they never talked about it. It had been around a month now. Edit. Had y'all in the first half, not gonna lie. So my initial thought was cocaine. Not a young lad shaving his pubes. Maybe this says more about me though, I'm not sure. LOL, I was thinking he was cutting himself. I as well. Perhaps we should be concerned about ourselves. Not a parent, but I was roommates with my older brother. Sometimes when he would bring a girl to the apartment, he would ask me to clean up a bit his room. So this one day he asks and I go in. I just do the bed and sweep really quick. So I'm sweeping and under the bed I found an used condom. I just pushed the condom back under the bed with a broom and left the room. Needless to say, next time he asked, I'd just do the bed, trying not to touch anything. I don't know your family, but I feel that if he can bring a girl over with the intention to sex, then he should clean beforehand himself. If he would clean if he knew the GF would come over, but sometimes she would surprise him at work or something like that. It wasn't that often and he would invite me for dinner later. At least you got some food out of it, and that seems like a fair deal to me. Although, I'd need some really good food to make up for a condom incident like that. My best friend and I would wait until my parents left to turn the house upside down looking for change to go to McDonald's. We called ourselves the Dollar Menu Millionaires. Well, you can guess that we went into my parents' drawers and jewelry boxes and to our horror discovered very explicit spread eagle Polaroids my dad must have took of my stepmom. I can still see them now. We no longer went in their room for change. Didn't say a word. Could never look at her the same. A framed picture of Baby Yoda. He is 6. Edit. So glad this amused some of you. It was a printed out picture. One of us printed it out for him but didn't even know what he was going to do with it. And he found himself a frame. The frame is way too big, you can see cardboard around it. Who the f framed it? Not a parent. Just a sister who lives with her brother. We are both in our 30s and divorced. He has a house and I moved in with my daughter to save money and finish my last semester of school. I try to help out a lot around the house because I know he is really helping me out right now financially. So I do the cooking, cleaning, and laundry. Took the laundry basket and started a load the other day and found some sex toys in the bottom. Quickly replaced and covered with clothes. Never gonna mention that one. Grimacing face. Back in the 70s I grew a few marijuana plants between the tomatoes in my dad's garden. Fully expecting the plants to not do too well, but they did. They did very well. Then one day they were gone. I didn't ask. He didn't tell. Months later at my sister's wedding reception, there is a procession of guests coming and going from my parents' room. Every time the door opens, smoke puffs out from the door. I investigate and find aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone isn't getting high on the weed I grew and my dad harvested. This is the complete opposite, but I was looking in my parents' room for something. I honestly don't even remember what it was, and I found a drawer with nudie mags and a prostate massager. I mean, obviously my parents do it, but I never thought my dad was the type to have a. Well, anyways. Also, probably the most embarrassing thing my parents found in my room was my booger wall. I was a gross kid. Okay, so I am not the only one that had a booger wall as a little kid, good to know. Not the parent but the kid whose dad went through my room looking for something else. I was going through some really awful depression. I was 21 at the time, and used alcohol as my medicine and I had stashed a bunch of bottles in my room. I'd hide them and also my parents never ever went into my room so I wasn't too worried about it. I came home from my friend's house one day and he had all of the bottles out for me to see. I instantly felt sick inside. My dad had me go upstairs and talk to him about it, and instead of being angry at his young adult kid drinking the way I was, he told me how sad he felt that I was going through something all alone. I ended up going to rehab and learned how to live my life sober. I ended lots of relationships that were pulling me down. I may not even be here today if we never had that conversation. Also, I'm so very thankful for him. Edit. I do realize the question states but did not discuss with them. I just thought this story could help if a parent found something like this. Oh wow. Thanks for sharing that. Your dad sounds like a good man. I'm glad he knew that was what you needed, friend. Not a parent, but once I had a big sleepover with like 10 friends and one friend was really good at drawing terrifyingly realistic penises, like she really had the art of penis drawing down. So while everyone slept she covered my room in penis drawings and hid them in places. So in the afternoon the next day my mom was helping put away the sleeping bags and out of one sleeping bag came out all the penis drawings that I had found in my room and stashed in the sleeping bag. I was planning on ambushing the friend with them at school. My mom said nothing, made sure the bag was empty and then just rolled it up, not saying anything, not even looking at them. I didn't say anything either. The memory haunts me. My dad slept in my bedroom while I was at work and I just saw the vibrator I left under my pillow on the bookshelf by the bed yesterday. Grimacing face. I was the kid but had a relevant experience. When 50 Shades of Grey first came out, I bought the book and left it on my bookshelf. My parents never really looked around my room in depth like that and aren't really up on pop culture, so I didn't think it'd be a thing. Well, my mom I guess had at least heard of 50 Shades. She's too out of touch to actually have understood the premise, and saw that I had it, so she took it from me without asking. She still does this. Snoops and just takes things. I hate it. I didn't notice it was gone until one day, probably a few months later, when I was looking for some documents in her room and I pulled open a drawer and saw my copy of 50 Shades in there, with a bookmark and everything. I didn't even know WTF to do. Like my mom stole my erotica. Do I take it back? Do I even want it back? So I just closed the drawer and never mentioned it. She never gave it back either. I'd have taken it and put it somewhere she wouldn't find it. Probably not even in my room. At that point, she knows you know and the ball is either in her court to say something or not. But she 100% knows that her snooping is noticed. The messes become the messies. A dead raccoon. Can you elaborate on the events leading up to and following that discovery? His room smelled like decaying matter, so I looked around his room, and there it was under his bed. Lucy, you got some splaining to do. I didn't ask until I found it in the dumpster actually. He denied it completely until I told him when I found it. Apparently he likes the smell of dead animals. Doubt. Did the raccoon look? IDK. Murdered. My 7-year-old daughter has several pics of her deceased father under her mattress. When she has questions I will be ready. Some weird erotic friend fanfic my 15-year-old wrote. Never breathed a word of it to anyone. One time my mom asked me to go get her pills, giving me detailed instructions of which drawer it was. Sure enough, it was there, along with her strap-ons, dildos and pocket pussies. Edit. Thanks guys, you made my best comment about me finding my mom's sex toys. You guys are great ass. I feel like she was hoping she put all those things in separate drawers, which is why she made sure you opened that drawer. Or she just has a strange sense of humor. My mother is the type of person to say spit is a disgusting word. I hope it's not her humor, as opposed to swallow. I once drew crying eyes, modeled after my own eyes, because we just learned how to draw eyes in school. My mom took photos of it and posted it on Facebook while I was in school. Not a parent, but my mom found my love letter to my 2nd grade crush. She made friends with my crush's mother and now they're friends for 17 years. Kept asking me why we didn't end up with each other. Mom, he and I both like the same guy ATM. My parents always confronted me with everything. Why'd you write that you liked a boy? Are you dating him? You know you're not allowed to date. Why'd you write about not doing well on your test? Why didn't you properly study for it? Why is there an imprint in your mattress? Are you doing drugs? It was actually from a sex toy I had moved when we were in the middle of moving. What is this note? Why are you passing notes in class? I was in college. The note was from my friend and I being goofy during a break. But then they turn around and ask me to open up to them. LMAO. Number. Not even to this day. And I'm almost 30. Unfortunately, this seems to be a common story. Just makes me glad my parents were uninterested or busy. Still not sure which one. When I was in high school, my boyfriend and I went through his parents' bedroom to look for a silver penny he claimed his mother owned. As we were searching the dresser drawers, we came across a compartment that was full of gifts I had given him throughout our relationship. A mood ring, letters, pictures, books, sunglasses, etc. For years, I had thought my boyfriend had lost so many gifts I had given him, but it turns out his mom was just taking them from his room and hiding them the entire time. He was a total mommy's boy and I think she was trying to break us up. I didn't even confront her about it. Not a parent, but I went through my little sister's bedroom when she still lived at my parents' house. She's 9 years younger than me. Anyway, I needed to find her spare car keys so I could move her car to clear out some snow, and I looked in the drawer of her nightstand and found a vibrator and some weed paraphernalia. Needless to say, I shut that drawer quick and stopped looking for her keys and just waited for her friend to bring her home to move her car. Lesson learned. I read that as she was 9 years old. The first time I read it I had to reread it. My mom was staring perplexed by my little brother's homemade weed pipe that she had found in his sock drawer, just as I was walking by, doing a double take. I stopped and she asked me, "What do you think this is?" Me. "A kazoo." "That's his kazoo, Mom." "Oh, okay." I then had a little chat with my 14-year-old brother about drugs and told him to hide his kazoo a little better. Nothing. But I like to hide a really creepy plush in their room so they come to me so confused and we throw it in the trash. But I put it back in place as soon as they go to sleep. Okay, Satan. My lube. When I was in middle school, I used to masturbate with the handle of a hairbrush, and I once witnessed my mom pull it out from under my bed and furrow her brow, trying to figure out what was flaking off the handle. That was not her "what is this" face. That was her "I can't believe she doesn't wash it" face. When I was 11-12, I was snooping around my 17-year-old brother's room and I found a gun. I don't know why or how or whose it was. I took it and threw it in a sewer and never said anything to him about it. We're in our 30s now and I still wouldn't say anything. LOL. I don't know if a sewer was a good place for it. When I was 9, I found my brother's gun safe. He's 9 years older, had a permit. Smart move, because I immediately wanted to play with it, but couldn't open the safe. Not a parent. My brother was once going through my room looking for something. Saw a thing of Pepperidge Farm cookies that I was keeping in my room so nobody would eat them. Ate them all and left the package there empty. I wasn't the parent. But when I was a teenager, my friends and I used to do Secret Santa. And of course, being teenage boys, most of the gifts were from the local sex shop. Usually I would toss the gift or give it to someone else. But one year I got a fuzzy sock for my and as it gets really cold during the winter, I used it under all my clothing to give my pocket rocket and his 2 launch thrusters extra warmth. After the winter, I put it in a drawer and forgot about it until one day I went to get something else out of that drawer and found everything moved around, including the box with sock. My mom had told me earlier that she had reorganized my room, so it makes sense that she found the box, but she never said a word about it to me. I'm really glad she didn't ask me about it, because I don't even know how I would have explained that to her.